What is going on, everybody out there in the YouTube trucking community? Sean Cahalan, Christian Brother Trucker, coming at you again with another video today. And today, we're going to be talking about training programs. It's going to come with a personal story. But this is my observations about a couple of these big mega fleet companies. One in particular was CR England, which I experienced firsthand. And then another one is Prime Inc. Trucking. Now, all training programs are not created equal. And I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos come across my feed about Prime Inc. And you might sit there and go, well, aren't all training programs the same? No, they're not. They're very different. And if you're just coming into this industry and you don't know what some of the differences are, I can explain some of the differences of what makes these different training programs so vastly different in the way that you're going to experience your first few months to 6 months over the road. Now, in particular, with a couple of different mega fleet companies out there, well, let me back this up a little bit. In training, you get your learner's permit, and then you pass a test to get your CDL. Most of the time, and with most trucking companies, when you come in, you will go through either a school with the company and then sign up to drive for them for a certain amount of months to offset some of the cost or all of the cost of your training to get your CDL. Or you can go to a CDL truck driving school on your own, get your own financing, you can get a loan. There's a lot of different ways to obtain your CDL. Some trucking companies, Prime Inc. is one of them, and CR England used to be one of them. I'm not sure what CR England does nowadays, but there's a couple of them out there that will put you through school, and you will sign up to drive for them exclusively for your first year. Well, the way that they do it is, if you don't have your CDL, then you come in and you do some classroom study, and then you go down and you take your written test, which will get you your learner's permit. Now, there's a couple of trucking companies that will put you into a truck with a trainer with nothing more than a learner's permit without actually having your Class A CDL. Now, I'm not sure all the details on how Prime Inc. does this. I've been hearing stuff like TNT and PMP or PNT or something like that, all these different acronyms for their training programs. But when you go to work for them, you have to go through TNT training for 5 to 6 months, and this can take anywhere up to 7 months, depending on how long things take. With other truck driving companies, Pascal Truck Lines, I trained for them. I would have trainees get on my truck. They'd be on my truck for 3 weeks, and if they were able to pick everything up that they needed to pick up, I would sign off on them. They would go back to the terminal, test out, and they would get into their own solo truck within the first month. Sometimes all it would take is a month. If they needed a little bit more training, they would go to what's called, that was P1, 7,500 miles. And then P2 is they would pair them up with another trainee so that they could do another 7,500 miles. With night transportation, it was 1 month. So, yeah, you come out on the road with a trainer and you learn what you needed to learn. The other major difference with Prime Inc. and some of these other companies that make you stay in the truck for a very, 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 very long time is your team driving, which means you're driving, trainer sleeping. Well, how do you get trained when this is going on? And with Pascal Truck Lines, I would start out all the time being up in that passenger seat, and during the second week I would start to go to the sleeper to take naps or whatever, And then during the third week, we would do a little bit of teaming. But, you know, it wasn't about getting the team miles. It wasn't about trying to push the trainee as hard as I can because I'm greedy. But we also weren't lease operators either. That's the other thing that Prime Inc. does, is they have lease operators that are trying to train, which, you know, there are two things in the industry that you really shouldn't put together. They do. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I guess it depends on the individual. I don't know. But so what happens is you get a rookie that comes through TNT. They go out solo, they get a lease truck, and then they go, hey, oh, I want to put in more miles. I want to be able to make more money and not go broke as a lease operator. So they go, great, why don't you become a trainer? And that way you guys can team and you can get more miles and get more money, and that way you can not go broke. So then they do. And then, you know, you have these trainers that have less than 6 months experience, and they're trying to train somebody else that has 0 experience. Now, keep in mind that people don't know what they don't know, right? So think about this. I mean, you have 0 experience, you just got your CDL, and they're going to throw you into a truck with a trainer that has 6 months experience. And you expect to learn what you need to learn from somebody who's only been in the industry for 6 months. Yeah, I don't think so, right? I mean, that's like crazy. There's some things that you learn over time, and you just can't learn enough of what you need to know in order to train a driver, because you don't know what's important. You don't know what you don't know, like I said. So I went through this experience where I was thrown into a lease truck. I was made a trainer with very little OTR experience. And it was rough because I didn't know how to train, even though I went to the trainer's course and learned what I was supposed to learn. But it was still very ineffective. But, you know, I watched a video, I think it was last night or this morning, talking about a guy that just got done with TNT and had just gotten into his solo truck, and he wrecked his truck and died. You know, there's a lot of speculation. We don't know why it happened. It could have been fatigue, could have been a lot of different things. But, you know, in this case scenario, the guy was desperate. He wasn't making any money when he was training, and that's another thing. You go through these long trainings with these companies, and they're paying you minimum wage, $12 an hour, or, you know, $150 a day, or whatever the case may be, right? So it takes a long time while you're trying to feed your family off of, you know, half of what a normal driver would make. And then you go and put them into a truck with a lease operator who doesn't care about training. What they care about is producing the miles and driving as a team. And a trainer can't train when he's in the sleeper sleeping. So, you know, I don't know why or how these companies are getting away with it. You know, the DOT has regulations on truck trainers. We're supposed to have X amount of experience, and I'm not sure that half the trainers that are out here meet those requirements. But I'm not sure how it's worded, because DOT regulations are kind of hard to understand sometimes. So now it's story time. So back in 2008, I came into the industry. I had done some local work. I had worked for a construction company and got my CDL. And then I went down to Elko, Nevada, and did some local work driving double side dumps on and off road. And so I had some local driving experience. Well, I called up CR England because I wanted to learn over the road. And they would hire me. So they hired me as a, I guess what you would call a partially qualified short-term trainee, which meant I was going to go out with a trainer for 10 days. So, and I'm in orientation, and I'm learning about, you know, CAT training, career advancement training. I'm learning about lease operating. They offered me to do a lease truck and said that I would make more money than a company driver. I had talked with a whole bunch of people while I was in orientation, and it's really weird how they do it. So let me cover how they do it, how they paint this picture, and then we'll start to look at whether this should be illegal, ethical, moral, or whatever the case may be. It's predatory, okay? So these big mega fleets that are set up as training companies that also do lease trucks and lease trucks out to drivers, they intentionally treat their company drivers like crap. They intentionally cut the miles and pay low so that you have more of an incentive to go lease. And they set the advertisement up so that you get it in your mind that you're going to make more as a lease operator, because potentially you can make a lot more money, blah, 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 right? So what they do is they make life so unbearable as a company driver, and they micromanage the crap out of you so that you want to have more freedom, right? So they make you stay out for months at a time. They micromanage your fuel. They micromanage your loads. They micromanage your time. And so you get it in your mind that, oh, if I go lease, I'm not going to have to go through this anymore, right? And so that's how they paint it out. So that's why you sit there and look at the lease trucks and go, oh, I want that freedom. And they go, yeah, we'd love to give that to you. So, you know, hey, that's just how it works. I talked with company drivers, I talked with lease operators, and it all sounded really good, right? So I went out with a trainer for 10 days, didn't learn nothing. All I learned was how to drive the truck down the road. And I didn't even learn that very well. I got lost. He let me back the truck up, I think, once the whole entire time I was out there. And so I get back, and they let me lease my own truck. So I leased a brand new Freightliner. Well, nearly new. I think it had like 25,000 miles on it or something. And they sent me on a load. So I went over to California, picked up some almonds, took some almonds over to Pennsylvania, went to cold storage, came back. And then it was like my second or third or fourth or fifth load. I don't remember which load it was, but it was a 2-drop load. One was in the Bronx, New York, and the second drop was in Hunts Point, down south of the island in New York Island. So I'm over there, and I had a really hard time finding the first drop, but I found it. And so it was like really early in the morning. I was able to make the first drop, and then I was able to park for 10 off so that I can get some sleep. And I was going to go down to Hunts Point. Well, this is back in the day when you didn't have GPS. We didn't have the truck navigation units back then. And I had to get local directions from the locals. Well, I was confused because, you know, New York is crazy. And I'm still brand new. I don't really know how to make sense of, you know, somebody saying, oh, go down here, go east, go west. So I couldn't make sense of it. So I call up overnight dispatch, after hours dispatch, and they said, well, just get on Park Avenue and take Park Avenue all the way down. So I did that. Well, for you all that don't know, in New York, Park Avenue is not a truck route. It's a restricted route. Can't go on that route. I don't know why they told me to go on that route, but I went on that route. So I'm driving down, and I get into an area where I can't turn left, I can't turn right, and I can't go forward. There's a low bridge clearance, and both of these turns that go right and left are really super narrow and don't have enough room for my tractor and trailer to make the turn. So I called New York State Police, or New York City Police, and they came out, and they had me back up 5 blocks, and they said, Park Avenue's a restricted truck route. What are you doing on this route? And I said, I was told to take this route. And they said, well, never again, don't do it again. If this was during daylight hours, you would be getting a ticket right now for impeding traffic. So, great. All right. So I asked them how to get down to where I needed to go, and they told me to go over to another route, and they helped me get to my next drop. Okay, cool. So I got that all sorted out. So I think 6 hours later, after the guy was done hand unloading the truck, it was a full load of filet mignon or some kind of beef. Anyway, prime rib or something like that. Very expensive load of beef. So I get my next dispatch and I got to go over to New Jersey. And so I'm like, okay, well, so I think I know how to get out of the city, but I'm heading over to go out and I missed my turn because I was in the wrong lane. And New York City traffic, y'all, if you're in the wrong lane, you're not getting over. It just ain't gonna happen unless you, like, I don't know. But anyway, I missed my turn, so I'm bombing along the road, and I've got one of those old Bluetooths that sticks in your ear. So I called dispatch and I said, hey, I'm on this route. I don't want to hit a bridge. I need to know how to get out of here. And they said, are you on your phone? Or no, they said, are you driving? And I said, yeah, but I have Bluetooth. Click. They hung up on me. Dude, I went off. I said, I have no experience. So I called up safety. And I chewed him a new one. I said, look, I've got no experience. First of all, you shouldn't be sending me over here to be driving in this crap if you know I don't have the experience to be over here. You know, you're talking about, oh, watch your clearances, don't wreck your truck, don't get out of route, don't do this. Like, if I call you for help and you hang up the phone on me, I'm in New York. Where am I going to pull over to check my route, right? Dude, I was just livid. So, you know, I told him from that point on, I'm never coming back over to New York. Don't ever send me back to New York. You know, I don't have the experience to be driving over there. It's a nightmare. And, yeah, I'm like, dude, there's so many things that are wrong with that scenario, dude. And had I gotten into a wreck, had I made my truck a convertible, guess whose fault it would have been? Oh, it would have been mine. But you don't know what you don't know, right? I'm from the Northwest. I don't know anything about New York City, the Bronx, Hunts Point, any of that, right? So yeah, I leased the truck for about 6 months. I got it stuck in a field one time because I took a wrong turn coming out because I wasn't trained. So 10 days with a trainer who did nothing but go in the bunk and sleep. And all we did was 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, team the load there and back. We did 2 loads. I didn't learn nothing. I didn't learn anything. The guy didn't tell me how to navigate. The guy didn't tell me how to look stuff up. The guy didn't tell me how to slide my tandems. Nothing. And he was a company driver too, which was like weird. So I didn't go through the extended training process, but you know, if it was like that then, I know it's like that now, you know, but when I get a trainee on my truck, I show them how to use GPS. I show them how to use satellite Google View or Google Satellite View. I show them to check the first mile and the final mile. I teach them to check how to get out of a truck stop. I teach them how to think and look at signs and not just blindly follow your GPS. I show them how to use a Rand McNally Road Atlas. All that stuff. Why? Because you need to know that stuff. You need to know how to navigate. You need to know what you're getting yourself into. You need to know how to manage fatigue. You need to know what your responsibility is. And you need to know what the responsibility of the company is. And you need to know when to say no. And you need to know what's legal, but then you also need to know what's safe. And they conflict sometimes, right? So just because I have the hours doesn't mean I can safely drive if I've been up all night unloading my truck and I wasn't able to sleep. Okay? So just because my clock says I have 10 hours doesn't mean I'm going to be able to drive that whole 10 hours before I start falling asleep. And if you call your fleet manager, dispatcher, whatever the case may be, and they say the words, you need to get that load there, you need to find a different company. So, first of all, I'm going to say, if you're coming into the industry thinking about getting your CDL, what you need to do is you need to do your research. Get on YouTube, see what the drivers are saying about the company. If you're going to go to work for Prime Inc., you need to look at videos that talk about nightmare trainees and nightmare trainers. And then call them and ask them, how long does it take to get through your training program? If it takes you 5-6 months, something's wrong with that picture. It shouldn't take you that long. If I was able to train fully competent trainees and have them come back, pass their test, get on the road, go solo, and be successful in 4 weeks, you should not be on a truck for 5-6 months. The only reason why they're on the truck for 5 or 6 months is because they're looking for a way to get away with running team trucks that they say are trainer trucks. You cannot learn while being a team. You just can't. Because if the trainer's sleeping, guess what he's not doing? He's not training you. If you guys are swapping out and you're doing 10 on, 10 off, 10 on, 10 off, 10 on, 10 off, that trainer's not training you. He's driving and he's sleeping. And he's driving and he's sleeping. And you're driving and you're sleeping. And you're driving and you're sleeping. There's no time to train. So call around. Call Knight Transportation. Knight Transportation has a better training program than Prime Inc. Hands down, bar none. Call Pascal Truck Lines. Go through Pascal Truck Lines. They're all east of the I-35. Knight Transportation is a national company. Swift Transportation is a national company. And if you find yourself with a trainer who's not training you, then say something. If you find yourself working for Knight, Swift, or whoever, and that trainer is forcing you to run teams, stop. Refuse to drive and go back to the terminal. I had a night driver that was messaging me on some other videos that I had posted about training, and he said, my trainer's making me drive team. I said, you need to get on the phone. You need to put a stop to that right now, because it is against company policy for that trainer to be doing what he's doing. It's not safe. You're not being taught. You're not learning what you need to learn, and you only have 4 weeks in order to learn what you need to learn. So that guy needs to be in that passenger seat and he needs to be training you. That's what I did the whole entire time I was training. Except for one guy, and that one guy had 3 years of local driving experience. So he was qualified so that I can go back and take a nap. I felt comfortable with his abilities. But that was one guy out of like 5 that I trained for that company. All the other drivers, if they were driving, I was in the passenger seat. With Doug Andrews distributing, that's the way it is here. We do not team. It shouldn't be done that way. So if you're thinking about coming out and driving, and you're looking at different programs, and you're sitting there wondering, is Prime Inc. a good program to go through? No, it's not. Don't do it. Unless you want to not learn what you need to learn and end up being a driver with 6 months experience and don't know how to slide your tandems. You don't know how to back up to a dock. You don't know how to do this. You don't know how to do that. You don't know how to navigate. You don't know how to manage your weight. You don't know how to manage fatigue. You don't know when to tell your fleet manager no. Do your research. If you're looking at, don't just look at one company. If you're going to call training companies, call at least 3. And then research videos on YouTube on all 3 companies. And then if you can, reach out to some drivers and find out what the scoop really is.
All done, sir.
All right, that was super quick. Thank you.
That's how we gotta do it. You're welcome.
Hey, am I all right to sit here for a couple minutes, do my paperwork?
Yeah, as long as no one else is pulling up, you're all good.
Okay.
We got one extra door, so.
Okay, thank you. Just dropped off a load of Valvoline motor oil for Napa Auto Parts here in Denver, Colorado. So I'm going to find out where I'm going next. But yeah, do your research and find out. And reach out to some drivers and get the real scoop. But Prime Inc. is set up to where all they want you to do is lease a truck and they want you to train, because it's the cheapest way in order for that company to do what it needs to do. It keeps their books low, because if you're paying all the bills and you're paying the trainee all for piecework, I've been watching videos of these lease drivers. Oh, they're like, why am I only making a few $100s a week? It's like, do the math, dude. Obviously you didn't do the math. Do the math. Do the math. And you won't end up in a situation where you're not learning what you need to learn. So be safe out there, drivers. Do your research. Don't just jump at the first opportunity and think it's the best opportunity ever, because it's probably one of the worst. So hopefully this video helps somebody out there make a better decision. Do some more research. And if I save you from having a bad experience, then hey, job well done, right? So, but yeah, Pascal Truck Lines, Knight Transportation, even Swift. If you're going to go to work and you're going to learn and you're going to go through school and you're going to do all that stuff, as far as having quality training, they're a better company to go with. They're a starter company, but they're way better than Prime Inc. Any company that's going to put you in with a lease operator and make you run teams, you do not want to do that. You do not want to do that, because you're not going to learn what you need to learn. You're going to be treated like a team driver, not as a trainee. And that trainer's not going to act like a trainer. He's going to act like a lease operator. And all he's going to be interested in is go, 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 make my money, make my money, make my money, make my money. I don't have time to train you. And you're not, because you're going to be ran like crazy. No. You can't learn in an environment like that. So, like I said, do your research. Take your time, do your research, and make a good decision, because that decision can lock you into something for 6 months while you're doing nothing but going broke. So, if you like this video, please like, subscribe, and share. And as always, thanks for watching, and God bless you all.